I'm kind of still on holiday a bit. So today is the day after summer camp and I'm just coming in my studio to kind of clean up stuff. I have one class today later on and then I'm getting ready for my next unit. So things I wanted to share that I wished I had known when I started teaching art. So my journey was kind of, mixed up. I started teaching art in South Africa. Didn't really know what I was doing. I did have some guidance, but not quite. And then I came to Taiwan to teach. And then at that time when I arrived, they were not interested in someone like me to teach art. So it was just English. So I basically started my own classes. So I went to, at the time, I got a little bit of help from a well-known studio, and they're still well-known, and I respect them quite, the owner of that studio. They're very innovative. Some of you might know, I worked for them for about a year, and they took me under their wing, and I had one class with them every week. And I remember the owner telling me, the first thing he said, "Oh, you've been teaching way too much language. We need to unravel your brain a bit and get back to that creative part." And he basically told me something very simple, which I didn't think of doing for ESL learners. He told me, how about you start with the elements of art? And I was like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that. But how do you do that? So, okay, I'm gonna be showing you some of the books that I acquired. Now, back then, if you know, you know, if you know who you are, I knew someone who owned a bookstore, and they had asked me to go and teach or, read a book and then do art there. I really, honestly, knowing what I know now, I did not know how to do that. Like, I didn't know which books kids were into. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know which questions to ask. I really had no idea. So it's quite a tough thing for me. And so I didn't, knowing what I know now, this person was a publisher. I probably could have ordered a lot of books through them, through their company and come to me. But then obviously that happened too late. They returned to their home country and I just continued with my art classes. So anyway, through a lot of trial and error and struggling and kind of learning online and doing a lot of research online, I found some books. And then I found a couple of, other art teacher groups, and then I kind of went from there. So, and then I kind of gradually learned more and more and more. So here are the books that I'm going to be choosing. So these are the books that I do almost like every single year. Without a doubt, I take them out. Some of them are new, some of them not so new, some of them have been with me for years. So basically, I'll be teaching this both in my studio and also for my kindergarten or lower classes, beginner classes. So first days first, I usually start with this book. This is a brand new book, which I got last year. So I haven't actually started with it, but usually I would start with like this one, The Beautiful Oops, one of my favorites by Barney Salzberg. If you know, you know. Then of course, I like this one. I'm an artist, one of my favorites that I like to teach. There is another one, and it's a classic called Harold and the Purple Crayon. I don't have the book on here, I can't find it. It's probably at my house. It happens. And then of course, this one has been with me for quite some time, Lines That Wiggle. So I start with, usually on the first day, I would do either this book or I would do the very first day of school. For my older kids, I will do this one, just kind of like a pre-warm up, and maybe like this one. I ain't gonna paint no more. The kids love this one. I generally like to sing this one. It's two things. It's great for body parts as well if you're teaching the body. So these are the books that I usually would start off on the first day of the first class. Then of course for older kids, I would move on to line. So I've got a couple of line books here. I do have another one somewhere, I just can't find it now. So basically for line, this one has been with me for quite some time. I would read this and do line exercise. This is a new one that I got last year, and it basically re-emphasizes the different types of lines again. Kind of a very good way to introduce the art of elements to ESL learners as well, specifically for English. And then this one, now, if you've been following her on Instagram, you will know exactly who I'm talking about. I came across her blog, oh gosh, 15 years ago, and she's amazing. She is amazing. And I knew about, she actually had a poem called Larry the Lion, which she had on YouTube, sorry. And I used that for so many years, many years. And actually, most of my students did not have the book. This is news. I got this like a year ago. And this one in particular, she was a teacher for 25 years, so she gets it. And, you know, I taught them the poem for line. I taught them the different, you know, for my beginner classes, I would teach them the different names of the line. And the poem that she, of course, had, I do not take credit for it, this is hers. And then finally she put it into a book. And most of my older students, when they saw this, they were like, what? This isn't a book. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. But I tested it on one group of kids last year and they loved it. And so this year, for the first time ever, my beginning classes are going to be getting this from the very beginning. And I love the language in this. I love how it's been done and how it's, you know, set aside, and the order of it's perfect. So these are the 3 books that I would use to teach line. And then of course there's color and texture and so on, and I'll go into the details of that in a later book video.